While I was in the process of creating this series, I had a number of people that wanted to know more about my abilities, about what I could do. In the beginning, I had chosen not to share that information because I was afraid it would taint what I was presenting a little bit. Not in the sense that it would diminish it, more in the sense that it would become too much about me and not enough about you. The whole point of everything that I want to do and everything I've been trying to do is to focus on you. And if you filter everything I do and everything I know through my abilities, it becomes too much about me, and that detracts from you. And I just didn't like that idea. However, in thinking it through, I did realize there's some benefits to knowing my abilities, but there's also an opportunity in there to teach you some things that I might otherwise not have been able to teach. As an example of that, motives. The end result is your motives for needing to know my information dictate a lot about you. The truth is, if you need to know my information, my abilities, before you'll validate my information, then it means you don't trust yourself. You're waiting for someone else to tell you that it's okay, and that takes away from you. The truth is, no matter what my abilities are, no matter what my skills are, no matter how many titles I have, it's the benefit that you gain from my information and knowledge that's the only thing that matters. If I have 1,000 titles and I create something that provides no benefit to you, that doesn't improve your life in some way, it's absolutely worthless. The fact I have 1,000 titles doesn't change that. By the same token, if I have no titles, but I create something that truly benefits your life and improves it, then it didn't matter I had no titles, so who cares, right? So the truth is, it doesn't matter how many titles or abilities or skills I have, it's the benefit you get from it. And if you're not willing to accept that benefit without someone else telling you it's okay to do that, then you don't trust yourself, and that's all that matters. The rest doesn't. So if that's the case, I suggest going back to the very beginning and rewatching everything with a more objective mindset, with a more open mind, I guess is the only word I can find. Because you need to learn how to trust yourself, not how to trust me. Now, which of course lays in with the second one, that if you put all your faith in me and I have the power to completely alter your reality by what I say, then you're putting way too much faith into me. If you're doing that with anyone, you're putting in way too much faith. And it means the same thing. You don't trust yourself. You're putting your life into someone else's hands because you're not willing to live it for yourself. And same thing, I'd go back to the beginning and start again and put more emphasis on you because somewhere along the way it got lost. Now, the same thing, there is an element with having my abilities that can distract from my work, but more kind of from the influence side, but in a different way. Of course, like everyone else, I have certain abilities that I excel at and certain abilities that I'm not so good at. And if you rate my work because I'm not so good as that ability, and then minimize or undermine that information, you actually steal from yourself the ability to learn that information. It's no different than having someone that, say, learned a lot of theory about painting, about like the work of the masters and stuff. Even though they can't do it themselves, they understand all the little nuances of it and the influences of it. Even though they don't have the skill, they can completely educate everyone on what it's all about because they have an understanding of it. They don't have to have the skill to have the understanding. The ability, like I said, you're born with, but you can understand a lot about it and still not have the ability. That does happen. So that's kind of why I wanted to go into this first, so that it didn't detract from what was coming and what you're learning. So I want you to take a moment to look at yourself and look at your life and decide why it is that you want this information, why you want to know my abilities. If it's because you won't validate the work without, you lose. If it's because you're waiting to prove to your friends how great I am because you've given your life to me, you lose even more, actually. That's even worse than the first one. If I can influence you by what I say, if I can completely alter your perspective by a simple choice of a phrase, then I wouldn't watch it yet. watch some of the other stuff and then later on come back. It's not going anywhere. So you don't have to watch it right now. Watch it when you're better suited to watch it. So take a moment to reflect and decide what your motives are for watching this. And if they're anything other than just raw curiosity, don't watch it. Plain and simple. So take a moment. Okay, so you're obviously here for curiosity's sake. Now just remember, curiosity killed the cat. Of course, you also should remember that without curiosity, we would have not had a single invention or breakthrough in all of human history. So I just wanted to give you one last chance to change your mind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you my abilities. I'm not going to try and go into any real depth, because of course we have an entire span of sections coming that go into them individually, and I don't want to kind of spoil it, and I don't want to give you too much so you've got some wrong ideas by the time you get to them. So I'll tell you what they are in basic, brief form so as not to ruin the work that's coming. So as I said previous, I am primarily about knowledge and information. Those things are my greatest gift. I do knowledge and information as everyone else does breathing. It is so integral a part of who I am that I couldn't separate them even if I'd wanted to. It's every last thing about me, every personality trait, every tiny piece of me is linked to those 4 abilities that I have. I have 4, by the way. So the 4 abilities that I have in basic format are intuition, empathy, receptivity, and clairsentience. Well, intuition in basic form, as we know, is about insights and impressions. Empathy is about emotions. Receptivity is a little more complicated, but it's almost kind of like a truth detector in a way. It helps us to filter out, as an analogy, the wheat from the chaff. It lets us get rid of the stuff that's irrelevant or not real or doesn't matter and keep the good stuff that does. And then of course there's the clairsentient. Now, clairsentient is one of those words that people are starting to use inappropriately. They're using it the same way that they've used psychic and clairvoyant in the past. It's more about the title than a descriptive about their ability. The truth is, if someone tells you that clairsentient is about feelings and impressions and insights, well, doesn't that kind of sound like that's either empathy or intuition and empathy combined? And that's not what clairsentience is. Clairsentience is vastly different. You have to realize first that sentience is the key element in clairsentience. And clairsentience would be psychic sentience. So everything that's sentient, to be clairsentient, you have to go into the psychic beyond version of sentience. It's not about insights and information. It's about understanding. It's the whole nother level altogether. So what that means for me, being an intuitive, empathic, receptive, clairsentient, is that I can gain information from any source you can imagine. I can look at, I get insights, I get impressions, I get hunches, I can read people's emotions and understand who they are and what they're doing and why they're doing it even. I can kind of even filter that all through and see what's real and what's not. And like anything else, some of it is real and some of it isn't. It's important. And then, of course, with the clairsentient side, I can understand it all. I can put it together. I can put all the pieces together and see the bigger picture. The clairsentient allows me to gain a tremendous amount of understanding without necessarily having to put in a tremendous amount of experience. For me, that's what it's all about. Like I said, they're so integral a part of who I am. So my abilities allow me to get information from every single source you can imagine and to interpret it and to use it and to apply it and to understand it. And that's the big key. So that's basically my abilities. I have others, but they don't really compare to that one. So there you go. There's my abilities for you in a nutshell, and there's why I'm creating these videos. Hope it helps.